What's up, yo? Welcome on into 10 at 3 with Wes Rucker. It's 10 at 3 time in Tennessee. How are you? Hope you're well. Hope your day is going really, really well. Hope you've nothing going on in the world right now outside of sports, obviously. There's just, that's what everybody in the United States of America at this exact moment as we're going live is clearly talking and thinking about sports before anything else. Nothing else going on. Nothing for us to worry about. But hope you're having a good day. I know that I'm having a good day. I can tell you that much. Like the people in here with me today. I love Maddie too. Maddie's in here yesterday. We got Tom today, and Tom's special guest also. We got a crowd.
We got
in here
a crowd
today.
here today. Yeah, say hi, Jillian.
Hi.
We got
Kinda
Jillian
here
in
there.
here as well. What's going on? You know how I start my pretty much when I get in the car, when I get up in the morning and shower, I listen to a song that I tell the smart speaker to play whatever I'm in the mood for. But then I get in the car, and I'm heading to wherever I'm going. And I play kind of a game that's it's a game with Spotify where I'm like, let's just go random. You tell me what kind of day it's going to be. What kind of day is it going to be? And today, Ain't Nobody by Shaka Khan came on first, and I thought, good day. This is going to be a good day. When you get in your car and Spotify just pops up with some Shaka Khan at you, you're feeling funky, you're feeling good. It's a great way to start the day, and that's what kind of day it is today, Tom.
It's a Tuesday.
I'm trying here, I'm trying to set the mood. We got the minister of vibes for this show,
Hey.
Elijah. I thought was going to be with us today, but then, work comes up, things happen. He is not able to get here, although if we could get the newsroom can, I'm going to double-check that he's working there.
You want to check
In
out the newsroom?
In a minute, I want to check.
Okay.
Yes, is he?
I'll get that ready. I'll get that ready for you.
Because I want
here.
to see if he's actually back there working. Then that's good. But if not, he's going to get cup checked, and we're gonna say, hey, you said you couldn't be in here today, bud. Just kidding. Elijah's always working hard. We got a lot to talk about here on the program today. We got an hour for you, and we got JP Estrella. Clearly going to talk about that. I'm not aware as of the time we're recording this right now, 3:05 Eastern. I'm not aware of any updates today. I checked before we went on air, texted a couple people. Nothing new that I'm aware of right now. If that happens in the next hour, obviously we will bring that information to you, but it might be a day or so. I think we're scheduled to speak with Rick Barnes and a player tomorrow before Tennessee hosts Tennessee State on Thursday. Really glad, too. I love it when Tennessee doles out money for the in-state opponents for football and for basketball, and too often TSU's not in the mix. I'm glad TSU got in there. They've done some good things in basketball lately. I'm glad to see that program getting a nice check to come to not Lindsey Nelson. That's baseball, to go to Food City Center and get what's probably going to be an ugly loss, but get some money for it, get some experience for it. Tennessee did beat Rice last night, 91-66. We'll talk about that. Game kind of went to script other than the JP Estrella thing, which is not good. That's not what you want. That's bad. We'll talk about that. Also, it is still Football Florida week. It's still Football Florida week, so we're eventually going to get more to that. Yesterday, it's okay, it's the first show we're going live. And also, by the way, Boo Carter. And also, by the way, there's other things going on.
Yeah, there was a bit of a drop yesterday. A little bit of a news drop in the sports world.
There's a lot going on, and it was also Florida's 3-7. Now, I'm on record as saying I don't care what Florida's record is. I don't care what Tennessee's record is. You put the 2007 Patriots or the 85 Bears or whoever else you want in Tennessee uniforms, take them to the swamp, it's an L. Historically, and I actually won't be there this weekend because Emily's going down there for us, which is good. We'll be down there, have all that stuff covered, but I won't be down there, and so maybe that'll change the juju. I don't know, but I've covered a couple of Tennessee wins and maybe a dozen or so Tennessee losses down there. Seen Tennessee lose games that it shouldn't lose. Seen Tennessee get blown out in a game that should have at least been close. I've seen the Hail Mary play down there. I've seen Arian Foster a couple fumbles that changed the game down there. I've seen, over the years, anything you can do wrong in a football game, I have seen Tennessee do in the swamp. Anything that you can – it's like Kentucky for Tennessee. Kentucky football against Tennessee and Tennessee football against Florida. do things that they don't do at any other point in that season. That's just kind of historically what happens. So I think Tennessee's a 3.5-point favorite. I'm not shocked if Tennessee goes down there and wins, and we'll talk about this throughout the week. We'll have some mailbag stuff. We'll hear from fans and everybody else. We'll play audio and video from coaches and players, and they'll all say history doesn't matter. I've heard a lot of people say that for a lot of years, and then Tennessee goes down to the Swamp, and it does matter again. So we will see. Anything could happen there. We're going to talk about that game. Obviously, Lane Kiffin. We're gonna talk about that. Got a funny story to share later about the day that I remember when Lane Kiffin left Knoxville, and we all remember the burning mattresses and all that. I was down there for all that, and actually where I got the news was at a tire shop, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later too. There's a lot going on, but we will start with the 91-66 to Tennessee win. Tennessee win over Rice. Team coached by Rob Lanier. It was good to see Rob Lanier back up in Knoxville. He was with Rick Barnes for his first 4 seasons, I believe, with the Vols. He worked for him at Texas, too. They remained close friends. And Lanier had a lot of good stuff to say. And if we didn't have so much to talk about today, I'd play some of what he said. But he talked about the 4 years at Tennessee being, maybe the best of his career, the most enjoyable. His kids went to middle school and high school here. They still think of this place as a home. And since then, he went down to be the head coach at Georgia State. He was the head coach at SMU. Now he's the head coach at Rice. After SMU kind of did him dirty after he took them to the NIT and was getting that thing turned around. So they did him a little dirty. But he's at Rice now, and so he was happy to be back. Obviously, wasn't happy getting a 25-point L put on his head. That probably wasn't very fun. But he and Rick Barnes are very close, and Rob Lanier again said that Rick Barnes is the best human that he's ever known and the best boss that he's ever had, and the two remain very, very close to this day. So there was a lot of good stuff that was talked about there. And the game, for the most part, went like it was supposed to. Tennessee favored by 26.5. Tennessee wins by 25. I mean, that's kind of, again, Vegas often knows where it's talking about. Not always, but, they got a lot of money, and there's a reason for that. They usually know a lot of these things. Metrics also predicted to a Tennessee win about that score, so that's not surprising at all. But Tennessee did a lot of good things in the game. I thought Tennessee played pretty well. Rice shot the ball. Rice is a team that can shoot the ball pretty well. Their numbers from 3 are good. They got a lot of old guards on that team. They were 8-28 from 3 against Tennessee, though. Made some in the second half, but Tennessee's defense is what it is. It's not up to Rick Barnes' standard yet, but still one of the 3 or 4 best in the country on paper. So when your standards have reached a point where you don't even, like, you're top 5 nationally and you're like, nah, it's all right, it could be better, that tells you where the standards for defense are at Tennessee. But Rice did shoot 18-25 from the line, got to the line a bunch, got clobbered on the boards, though, 47-31, Tennessee size. And Rob Lanier talked about this last night. He said, point blank, that it's hard in college basketball these days to have even a single good big man. It's just hard to do that. They're hard guys to get. It's like premier offensive tackles. You're talking about a guy in this day and age who is legitimately 6'10" or taller, athletic enough to go guard on the perimeter, can do all the stuff big men could do, plus a couple things that are new to this era. So you have to do all those things. It's hard to get one of those guys. Tennessee, and this is Rob Lanier's quote, he said, these days it's hard to have one of them. Tennessee's got 5 or 6 of them. So you're talking perspective there. This is the deepest front court that Rick Barnes has had at Tennessee. And you know what? I hope J.P. Estrell's not out for a long time, but if he is, guess what? Still the deepest front court that Rick Barnes has had in his time at Tennessee. They got guys. I keep saying, I don't know where the season will end. You never know how the tournament's going to go. Tennessee's history and Rick's history in that tournament are what they are. I don't think there are 19 teams better than Tennessee right now. I just don't. I think with Gillespie now showing again, getting more comfortable, he and Akpar got the lob thing back on again. Lob U is back. They got a bunch of guys, 11, 12, 13 guys who could play, 5 or 6 good big men. Everybody loses games in basketball. Tennessee's going to lose games. Tennessee plays Illinois in a really exciting game, not this weekend or not next weekend, but after that, that's a fun one. You're going to learn a lot. Next week, obviously, Tennessee plays Rutgers. And then the next day, it's an Elite Eight matchup against Houston. So a rematch of last year's Elite Eight with another really good Houston team against another, I think, pretty good Tennessee team. And then we'll see who they play the next day or the day after that. That depends on the results from the first couple days. But this team will take some L's because everybody does. I don't think there's 19 teams better than this one. I keep trying to tell friends who are voting in the AP poll and friends who are, guys, are we watching the same team? Like, this team's going to have some issues, but I look at some of the teams ranked above them and I go, I don't think that team's better than Tennessee. Famous last words, right? I mean, next week they get housed a couple times and, hey, Wes, we're going to pull this up. This is going to be a great GIF, you idiot. I mean, that could happen. It does happen. But, you talk sports and you talk ball for a living and you make predictions. And, I've been on Hot Takes Exposed a couple times. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not ashamed either. So I'm not afraid to go out there and say, I'm not extreme. Like, I'm not here trying to give you a hot take. I'm just saying I don't think there's 19 basketball teams in the country better than Tennessee, especially if JP Estrella is healthy. And we'll see. He went down. It was a really kind of awkward-looking play. The nice thing, if you're trying to be positive about it, is that it wasn't a no-contact injury. And those no-contact injuries sometimes are when you start to get more worried about, that's where ACLs and PCLs and LCLs and whatever else CLs and meniscuses. I don't know what the plural of meniscus is. But those things tend to pop when you have a no-contact situation. That's Achilles, ankles, knees. Like, that's just what – but when contact's involved, sometimes you're like, it might be all right. And his leg wasn't totally planted in the ground. It was on the ground. But he didn't have like all 260 pounds of his frame on that foot at the time. And it was a loose ball. Ball was on the floor. Rice player's trying to go get it. Goes between his legs because he's just looking for the ball. And Estrella moves his leg kind of right there into the path. And, he bumped into him and the knee bent. And Estrella goes down in pain. And you hate to see it because that's a really talented young man. This isn't like one of those things where Rick Barnes took a flyer on a guy. This was like a 6'11" big man, top 50 prospect nationally. He could play, and everybody knew he could play. And he looks like as a freshman, he's trying to work his way through there. But then by the time the tournament rolls around, he's looking better than anybody else is against Zach Edey. The rest of Tennessee's big men, older guys, Jonas Adu, all-SEC player, Tobey Awaka, still doing good things in Arizona. But as a true freshman, Estrella in the tournament was like, I'll bang with the guy. I'll go against that Canadian Maple. I'll go give it a shot. 7'5", whatever he is, 300, whatever he is. I'll bump him. I'll give it a go. And he looked pretty decent doing it. I thought he had some really good moments in that game. And he was playing in crunch time in that game when it was still a close game. You can see a GIF of him now that when he's celebrating when Tennessee's either up 1 or down 1 with like 5 minutes left in that game. And, I mean, so you're like, okay. And in that offseason, a lot of people were freaking out when Adu transfers to Arkansas and Awaka transfers to Arizona. Tennessee wasn't freaking out. Rick Barnes wasn't freaking out. He knew he was getting Felix Okpara, which he did from Ohio State. But he also knew what he had with Estrella and Phillips. He's like, these young cats can play. I'm going to build this thing around those guys in the front court. Bring in Milicic. Yeah, you got a front court now. And they were really excited to play Okpara and Estrella both as a tandem at times with two towers and then also to kind of rotate them. He was excited to do both things. They were really excited as a staff about those guys. And then Estrella gets hurt in preseason. And then he tries to come back, tries to play a few games on it. It's not working. Shut down. Goes through surgery. Spends time on crutches, and then he's on that wheelie cart thing. But he's got still the best attitude, like every day. He's Mr. Vibes. He's their Elijah Nixon in a lot of ways. And just a great teammate. Fans love him for a reason. Everybody loves the kid for a reason. And then he comes back, puts up double-doubles off the bench in 2 of Tennessee's first 3 games, showing he can score from 3 levels as 6'11", handle the ball a little bit, pass it. Hey, now he's looking good. Vibes are good. He's good. And then that happens. And They hope it's just a hyperextension. They don't know. They might know by now, but they haven't said anything. I can tell you that about an hour ago, Estrella was putting game highlights and stuff on Instagram, and he wasn't putting up like the old prayer emojis or the "this sucks" emojis or the "I'm mad at the world" emojis. He was just posting some stuff. So maybe
the last two probably wouldn't be posted ever to begin with if he's the champion of vibes over there.
yes. Well, I think if you're the champion of vibes and you get like a second season-ending surgery, like 3 games into a season,
It's tough, but
then you might. That might be testing the vibes, Tom.
it might be. I mean, it would test anybody,
But he wasn't doing that today. So they hope that it's just that. So we'll see. There's been more info there. But the way he was playing, my goodness, has he looked good. And in the first half yesterday, Tennessee, I don't know if it was the first time this season, but it's the first time I remember it for sure, went with the 3-footer rotation. And they had 3 like 6'11", 7-foot guys on the floor at the same time, which you just never see, especially now in this kind of era with a lot of small ball and 4-guard lineups. But Nate Ament at 6'10", 6'11", can play the 2 or 3. He can. He could probably play point guard if you really needed him to. And then Estrella can play the 4 or 5, and Akpar is a good 5 who can guard pretty much any position on the floor except the point guard. And so they played 3 7-footers basically at the same time. And that's why Lanier walked out there after the game and went, what were we supposed to do? He's like, I can tell my guys go box them out. I can tell my guys to play hard. Hey, let's give it a go. But at the end of the day, they're just bigger. So you can go box them out, and you know what they're going to do? They're going to go pick peanuts off the top of your head and get a rebound. That's what they're going to do. And so Tennessee, and we've seen this with some big physical guys in the past, giving Tennessee some problems here and there, even with Adu, as good a player as he is. Sometimes got pushed around by thicker guys. And now, Tennessee's got a bunch of guys. And a guy I really, really, really like. And he's a big X factor in this season no matter what happens with Estrella, is Jalen Carey. I don't even know what I'm looking up his numbers last night just to make sure they were solid. The numbers were 9 points, 5 rebounds in 17 minutes off the bench, had a good plus-minus of +10. But Jalen Carey is at his 3rd school in 3 years. That's not uncommon in this era. So, again, hey, I'm not going to – no judgment on that. And in the first move, he went from James Madison to Vandy with his coach when his coach went there. So that, to me, almost doesn't count as a transfer. It's like this was the guy you signed to play for. He goes to a bigger program. You go with him. I don't even really consider that a transfer. Like you're not quitting on anything. You're staying with your guy, with your coach. Then this season, after playing Tennessee a couple times last season and looking really good against Tennessee when he played for Vandy, even though it was inconsistent at times, Tennessee's like, hey, we need the body like this. Because he is, I think, 6'8", 270, and he ain't fat. He's 6'8", 270, and he ain't fat. Now, he's not in the most elite shape, and they're working on doing that, but, that's like cardiovascular stuff. Like, the dude's cut from granite. He's made of stone. And he moves people effortlessly. Effortlessly, can I say? Will you say that word for me, Tom? I'm having a hard time.
I believe effortlessly.
There you go.
It's a tongue twister.
There you go.
Right.
It is a tongue twister. He moves people who don't want to be moved, and he does it without even really trying. If you go and watch clips, and he did this at Vandy, he does this at Tennessee, people bounce off of him like he's a trampoline. He goes up for a board or goes up to score, and somebody goes up to him and tries to affect him, get the ball, get in the way. He's not even trying to move them. He's just trying to score, and he just moves them. They just move. He's one of those guys. He's so just strong, powerful, and sudden as an athlete. He's very sudden, like he kind of gets on you, and you just bounce off of him. Guys who are bigger than him even or taller than him, they just bounce right off of him. Now, the problem is he's not in the best shape right now, and he's not a classic Tennessee under Rick Barnes guy, just kind of in his demeanor and every day. He's just kind of I've talked about this before. They have a type. They have a type. And when you see it, you know it. And he's not like a seamless fit into their type of guy. But he's good. And they need him. And he could be – there's going to be games. I'm pretty convinced that he's going to have some games this season that are like 4 points, 2 rebounds, and he plays 8 minutes because he just doesn't have it and Barnes isn't dealing with it. And then I think he's going to have like a 20-20 game. I think that's what – now, you want him to be more consistent, and if he's not more consistent, we'll see how the Reverend handles that because that's not – if Motor is not consistent, he's not playing you unless he has to. That's just – this is who he is. Early in his time at Tennessee, when things were different, they were different. I saw a game in South Carolina where he basically just quit playing his starters and he was playing walk-ons because he was like, I'm sending a message. I'm not watching this anymore. It's a little different now, I think. I don't know if he'd do that now because they're more embedded and there's less wiggle room in terms of results and all that stuff. But in terms of just what they are, they have a type, and he's not a seamless fit there. But it doesn't mean you can't get there. Doesn't mean, and it also doesn't mean if they need you, you're not going to be able to give them stuff. So use him. You've got him. Use him because he can give you some stuff. And I really like Dwayne Brown III too, the freshman. He's got some of those same qualities. He's just younger, but he's not scared of anybody, and he'll go after you. So even if, worst case scenario, and with Estrella, that's not – his health is the main thing. That's the main concern because as a person, as a kid, you just really like him. And he's a really talented guy. And you want to see talented people, especially talented people with really good attitudes, you want to see them have success. So that's the most important thing. That's the most important thing. But I think you can also talk about the team because let's be realistic. It is sports. People get hurt. Nobody likes it. Nobody liked everybody loves John Fulkerson, and injuries robbed him of being the player he should have been. But because of his attitude and because everybody loved him so much, and Estrella's got some of those qualities. His teammates love him, fans love him. And on top of that, he's a big-time player. So, yeah, that's a concern. But without him, worst case scenario, he's out. You've still got, for the 4 and 5 spots, Felix Arpara, Cade Phillips, Jalen Carey, Dwayne Brown III, and oh, by the way, freshman unicorn Nate Ament, who at 6'11" can do just about anything. He's going to foul out of games because he's still kind of immature in the way that he defends at times. And what I mean by that is he hasn't learned when you can and can't put 2 hands on somebody. Like, because there's places where out on the perimeter you put 2 hands on somebody, they're blowing the whistle every time. And he'll do that. And then there'll be times where he tries to reach in. And it's good that he's 6'11" or whatever he is with arms. Like, his wingspan is like Jupiter. Like, it just goes. It goes and goes and goes. But because of that, you're also going to commit more reaching fouls. You just are because you're going to go for the ball. There's a lot more of your arm to see. There's a lot of arm to see there. And so you're going to get caught doing that stuff. So he's going to foul out. And Jacoby Gillespie needs to be careful with this too, especially as a senior and a point guard. But with Ament, I mean, there's going to be a couple games this season where Tennessee really needs him, and he's going to be on the bench with foul trouble. And you can see it coming a mile away. And if I can see it, because I'm pretty dumb, if I can see it, I guarantee you a Hall of Fame basketball coach can see it. And so he's got to learn these lessons now because later in the season it could be costly if that doesn't happen. But he can still play the 2, 3, 4, or 5 at a really high level, and he's going to be one of the first picks in the draft next summer. He's an unbelievable talent, unbelievable player. He can get a double-double when you're like, hey, he was okay today. And he had 20 and 10. You're like, he was okay. Not his best. Ho-hum, 20 points, 10 boards. No big deal. He's one of those types of guys. And so what they have there, even without Estrella, who is an all SEC caliber player at minimum, maybe better than that, I think, in the long run. Even without that, they're rolling 5 guys at that position, at those 2 spots, that can play it at a high level. And they're not all the same guy either. They're different players with different strengths and weaknesses. What I really like about this Tennessee team, it's a little frustrating early in the season when you're trying to set a rotation, especially when you got a lot of guys. Like I wrote a column about this last week that Tennessee's got 200 minutes. That unless it goes to overtime, you got 200 minutes, and you got 12 or 13 hungry dogs, and that's not. You don't have enough kibble for those dogs. You just don't. And so, even with Estrella being hurt last night, Bishop Boswell not suiting up again with the foot injury, they're fine. They still had many more guys than you would possibly want to go beat just about any team you play, if they play well. And so it can be frustrating when you're trying to figure out, okay, it's good. It's a good thing when you got a lot of guys. It can also be a bad thing because there are a lot of coaches who say, no, I just want like a 9-man rotation. I can even deal with 8. Because that way guys are used to playing with each other. Guys know, hey, he's going to throw this pass here. Or if he's in, he's throwing that pass there. And it's also different. Like if you're a guy who plays multiple positions, you're trying to remember, okay, what position am I right now? What position is he right now? What's the help? When do I not help? These things can get confusing. And so that part of it leads to more sloppiness and turnovers. But it also gives you the opportunity to do things like they did to Rice last night. Poor freaking Rice. Where they're like, here's 3 7-footers for a while. And then just a minute or 2 later, here's 3 point guards in a rotation. Like, good luck with this. And, like, whatever tempo you want to play at, they can go. Might be sloppy right now if they're fast, but it's going to happen. They get after you. Bishop Boswell's not out there, so guess what? Amari Abrams out there. Another guy with really long wingspan and just a really fun player, guy who does a lot of stuff on offense and defense. So you're trying to figure out what the rotation is, and you're going to learn a lot the next couple weeks with the schedule. I can tell you that. I like how this schedule is set up because it gives you a little bit of time to get going for a few weeks. Then it goes up in a hurry. And then there's a couple more games where it maybe eases just a bit, and then you're into league play. And I like how they set that up. I like Rick Barnes and the way they schedule. They're really smart. And so there's a reason why they haven't won a natty, obviously. Haven't been to a Final Four, but there's a reason why they're in that mix every year. It's because they get good players, they know how to coach them, and they know how to make a schedule that challenges them to get them ready for the course of the long haul. So, but when this happens, and Estrella being out for a while and then back in, let's say it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Then you're bumping right into the start of SEC play. And so that could cause some stuff because he's going to play. If he's back, he's playing. He's earned it.
What do you suppose the best case scenario is there for Estrella? Is he
best case scenario like a week or so? I mean,
really?
if he just hyperextended that knee,
I guess that's true. If it was not even an injury necessarily. Oop.
Yeah, like if you just lightly sprain a knee, I mean, you say that. I mean, I've had those myself. There's no things can be called a minor injury, and then you have them, and you're like, that feels more than minor. That hurts.
But with him, do you think though, given the past injuries here, they're going to play it safe even regardless if it appears to be some sort of minor injury there? I think you should.
I'm glad you asked that, Tom. That's a really good point because Tennessee's medical staff for basketball is one of the best in the country. They've got the strength coach Garrett Madenwald and the trainer Chad Newman. I mean, Chad Newman's literally saved a life before during a basketball practice. I mean, they with Barnes and the staff and the principals they have in that program, they always lay everything out for the player. And if there's a choice to be made, they'll have the player be part of that process. But there's times where they say, we're not playing you. Like they'll be like, I'm good. And they're like, no, you're not. Or like, I'm ready to, I can give this a go the rest of the season. They go, no. This is an injury that you could make it worse if you play on it. You got a future in this game. We're shutting you down and having surgery. Like they do. This isn't like the old Varsity Blues with, Bud Kilmer, giving guys shots to get them just to go play and then they go get hurt, right? This ain't that. They don't do that. Those guys are really good at what they do, and they're actually good humans, which is nice. Not mandatory. Sometimes people who aren't very good humans win the most, if we're being honest. But it's nice to see good guys who also win, and that's what they are in that program. And so by all accounts and by everything that I've ever seen, there's been instances in the career where I'm like, oh, I didn't see that coming. That's not good. But it would surprise me with a lot of these guys. It just would. So they're taking care of these guys. And if it's best case scenario, week or two, I mean, and then it's just, all right, when do you feel comfortable again? Now we'll go. Because your history will make sure, but you feel good. And they also can do this, they wear all these things that tell, like, he's at 80% today. He's telling you he's 100%. He's giving you 80% of the normal output. Like, physically, they have those numbers now on the GPS vests.
Yeah, they can see it through the, what do you call it?
Yes. They wear all those GPS.
I forget the term, but yeah, I know exactly.
You'll see them like for football
Apple
and basketball.
Watches
They wear those
like
tank,
that.
and they have like those. They wear those the catapult vests or whatever they're called, like the little.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to. They look like a sports bra. That's what they look like. But it's men wearing them.
But these
and
harnesses,
like
it's the same thing as like
Yes.
for cardio monitoring, but in the same sense,
Yes.
it's like you
Yes.
get all sorts of like just feedback from the vitals.
Yes.
Trying to think of the name of it, it's dodging me right
Well,
now.
you see what someone's athletic output is, and
Yeah.
you can see a baseline. And once that baseline is set, you can see how close to 100% they are. And that also lets them, like, if a guy's playing through something and won't say anything about it, sometimes they can see what the numbers are and go, hey, are you slouching? Because if you're not slouching, something's wrong because your numbers are off. And they can also, do strength tests, like in the strength and conditioning areas. They can, give you, like, basically the squeeze tests and the press tests, and they can see what the resistance is, and they can do scans. And, like, they have everything you could possibly want, including like the jogging treadmills and water. Like, they got everything you could want to make somebody. They're not usually flying somebody somewhere to get something done now. Like, they can do everything in-house.
Exactly.
And for the most part.
And I mean, any sort of physical, like, when they're worried about something, they're trying to check for injuries. They're going to watch how they're running.
Yes. Now,
make sure there's nothing wrong with how their gait
Yes.
is or any of that stuff.
Now, you might still see a guy with an injury, Tom, that'll go like, I want to go see James Andrews for a surgery.
For sure.
So, and you're like, yeah, like, if you got, like, whether it's an ACL or Tommy John or whatever, like, there's guys in Pittsburgh who are very good at it. There's people around the country who are known for this, and they're very good at it. And so you might want to go see that specialist for another opinion or for a surgery. But like, by and large, Tennessee can do pretty much everything, like, in-house. So they'll handle all that stuff. But with what's going on there, I mean, it's weird. It almost, I don't know if callous is the right word, but it feels like as soon as, like, somebody gets hurt, we always start talking about, like, what's it mean for the team. And, like, we forget sometimes, like, what sucks for that guy? Like, this is a business, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, ultimately that's their career right there.
Yeah,
right?
like,
and it's a big deal.
So
like, injuries are even the smallest ones are nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, you're measuring, like, how is this season going? How does this injury affect somebody? Because at the end of the day, these are still, you're getting paid or fired or extended or whatever you are. Like, legacies are made based on this. Like, it's a lot involved for a lot of people. Millions and millions of dollars for a lot of people. But then also you're like, this is a young man who just worked his tail off for a year to come back from an injury, had good vibes the whole time. Everybody loves him. And he's hurt again. So you're like, yeah, like, emotionally, psychologically, like, what's that do to somebody? It can be difficult. And I think for somebody like Estrella, it maybe would be okay because, like Fulkerson did, he's kind of got one of those chill, happy mindsets. So he'll be like, this is happening for a reason. It'll be all right, and I'm good to go. You hope that's what it is. But what we're going to be talking about a lot, if Estrella's out, and we know that he's out for an extended period of time, immediately the conversation shifts to, what's this mean for the team? What's this mean for the brand? What's this mean for Tennessee? What's this mean for the Vols? Like, that's where you go. But maybe in this little interim where we're not quite sure yet, nothing's official, nothing publicly. At least my phone hasn't blown up since we started this, so I still don't think anything's going on.
That's probably not something they're going to announce immediately on social media, but I've been keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, like I'm keeping an eye out for
which actually, if you look over on the screen there is something did drop during the show here about Jacoby and Nate there landing on the Wooden Award top 50 watch list there. So that's a pretty big deal.
They are on the watch list. That's the Wooden Award. Yeah, that's
a big deal.
That's a big deal. That and the Naismith are like the basketball Heisman basically. Yep. So that's a big deal. And so, but like in this interim where, again, where you're always doing, and you get a peek at this now when we're doing this live, is when you're waiting on news like that. It's like, okay, am I going to get a text from somebody in the program or around Australia that's like a heads up on something that's coming, or am I going to get an alert on my phone that said one of my very friendly competitors beat me on this one because they got the story up, or you're waiting for Tennessee to send a release, which you get an update on that. So it's a wide gamut of things that you're looking at because you're sending texts and, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? And you just kind of wait to see who gets it. So that's how it goes. Like, it's an odd combination of either feverishly being on your phone or just really impatiently staring at your phone.
Sometimes it's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time on those.
Yeah, that's and so you're waiting on that to happen, and you know it's so funny because when this is going on live, because the way this timing is for the show, which I think is this is the time I would have wanted. This is our schedule. This is a perfect fit for what's going on here. It also means that like basketball practice for me will be kind of a no-go this year because of the time. Because this is usually, you know, they usually do the interviews around 2:30, and then they watch film and then they practice. So you can do the math on that. You can look at the clock here below me. Like, you know what time. That means that, like, I'm not going to be seeing as much of that stuff this season, which sucks because Rick Barnes' basketball program is one of the few high-level football or basketball programs that still is just like, you want to come to practice? That's fine. Like, they don't care. And so he's like, what am I? He's like, what am I? Is this Oak Ridge? Am I building a, you know, weapons-grade plutonium? Am I building Fat Man and Little Boy over here? No, it's basketball. Like, just don't talk about injured players until we've had a chance to hear from us, because we don't want them hearing. We don't want their parents hearing about it from one of y'all before they hear about it from us. We don't want them freaked out. And if there's like schematic things that are clearly scouting report stuff, don't film it. Don't talk about it. Fair enough. That's how it ran forever. That's how this game ran forever until this kind of new age of journalism kind of started getting a little too little invasive, and you know, that there's a lot of corporate pressure on a lot of people to be breaking stuff and consequences if they didn't.
Yeah, it's very access heavy style these days. If that makes sense.
And very, very competitive with you know, certain shops especially, and so you have pressure to go out there and do it, even though you're not wrong. You're kind of breaking a rule, but you're like, nah, I'm going to break it this time because it's worth it. Like, we've all done it, but it started to happen too much, and then the paranoia. All some of these coaches needed was an example of that stuff happening, and they're like, oh, shut it off. Shut it off. I remember when Nick Saban got to LSU and didn't let people talk to his freshmen. And the very first time that Philip Fulmer heard that, the next day, Tennessee football freshmen were no longer available for the media.
Man, word gets out fast, huh?
Yeah. As soon as he heard about it, he was like, and we're like, what the bleep, Philip? What's going on here? Like, what? Why? It's never been an issue. He's like, well, if Nick's freshmen aren't talking, mine aren't going to talk. If his freshmen aren't going to come out there and say dumb stuff to y'all, mine aren't going to do it. We're going to media train them for a year, and then you can talk to them the rest of their career. And, you know, for years at North Carolina basketball, you couldn't talk to freshmen. They were one of the first to do that too. So, but that's how this all started happening. So you won't be seeing, like, you know, normally with Tennessee basketball, I'm like, not only do I see stuff in games, I see stuff in practice that helps me report and gives me a better idea what I'm talking about. And you can still, like, you know, you can be responsible about how you share it and still file things away for later. Like, oh, by the way, a few months ago this was happening, and now we see some of this stuff being worked out. Now that they showed this in a game, I'll tell y'all they've been practicing this thing for 2 months.
Yeah,
they were ready to spring this thing on somebody. So it gives you much more insight. And Rick Barnes still is like, y'all hadn't burned me yet, so he's fine.
Yeah, I mean, info is leverage. And
he's old school.
They're
He's
trying
old
to
school.
keep that competitive advantage in any way, shape, or form they can. So that you
And
just kind of got to expect those things.
Yeah, and you talk about injuries, he'll talk about them. He'll be like, "Here, I heard it was. We're not sure. Hope it, might be a hyperextension. I hope that's what it was. We'll get more tests tomorrow." You know what Heupel's response? Heupel's, no more. Heupel's always. Yeah, we'll know a little more tomorrow. Not really sure right now. And in his case, he's usually lying, and that's how it was, and that's fine. That's the only thing he lies about, but he did lie about it a lot, but nothing else, because he saw that as a competitive advantage disadvantage thing, and that's fine. A lot of people do, but now they do the SEC injury reports. But we still have to ask, and people say, why are you asking? And we say, because we have to write in our stories and say in our reports, here on shows like this, here in the studio back there, we have to say, we asked Tennessee for comment. It's the fair thing to do. It's like 101. It's journalism 101. Like, there's times where we're asking a dumb question that we know is not going to get answered, but we have to ask it. To be like, hey, what's going on with his knee? And he's going to say, Heupel now can go, well, we released the Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, we'll release the report. And then Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday. So he can just refer to that. And that's fine. I mean, that's how it is across the league now. But Rick still is just like, yeah, here's what's going on. I heard it was a second grade thing maybe, or whatever. He just doesn't care. He's like, it's one of those tarsals. I'm not sure which tarsal, but I heard the word tarsal, so something. Like, he'll just tell you. He's old school. He doesn't care. And so when they know and can talk, Rick's not a very good secret keeper. Like, he's gonna say it. I've said this a million times. Rick Barnes is the living embodiment of that moment that in Seinfeld, when Seinfeld talks about people reach a certain age, they put the car in reverse, they don't look at the mirrors anymore. They put the car in reverse and it's going back. Whatever they hit, they hit. That's Rick Barnes. He's now, especially the whole time he's been at Tennessee, he's like, this is how I do things. I say what I think. Usually people like it, sometimes they don't, but it ain't an act.
At some point you earn it, right?
Yeah, like
and
he's like,
he's earned it.
He's like, I'm a Hall of Famer. I probably could have been to the Final Four more times, but I'm a Hall of Famer. I've won 1.5 billion games. I've never really gotten anybody in trouble. My guys are model citizens. We don't have secrets. Here's what's going on. And so, yeah, when they know and he can talk, he'll talk, because he just does. He can't help himself. But I'm not. I am hopeful for Estrella more than anything, but it's also a business. At the end of the day, Tennessee's got to go play Tennessee State Thursday no matter what. It's going to go play next week in Las Vegas against Rutgers and Houston, and then somebody else. It's going to then play Illinois and in Nashville. This is what they do. They go out and play. Like, they don't care. If Joey Aguilar had gotten hurt last week, Tennessee still got to play Florida. We'll see what's going on. The reports will be released Wednesday, which is when we'll hear about Kitzelman and Wendell Moe and some of the others. Regardless, Tennessee's got to play Florida. Just like Florida has a bunch of injured guys, also a bunch of guys who are, I think, during this transition being like, we don't really care right now. But they still got to host Tennessee on Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern. So we'll talk about all of that. But we'll see. I hope the best for Estrella, though, because he's just one of those good guys. And before I talk about Lane Kiffin here at the end, another guy that I really enjoyed covering was Rob Lanier. And it was good to see him last night. He's been, like, people who don't know, like, Rob Lanier, like, he and his family, they're like high achieving, awesome people. Like, his wife's a doctor, and like they're an unusual, like, power couple in what both of them do. And I really enjoyed covering him when he was here. I hate what happened to him at SMU after just a couple years. That was a weird deal there, and now he's at Rice. But he would have been. We keep a distance. We're trained to, and you should, because you should be able to report anything that happens that the public needs to know. And whether you personally like somebody or don't should have zero effect on that. And that's why we keep a distance, like with the people I cover. Like there are people, we're humans. There's people you like and people you don't like. And we can't sit here and be honest and say that everybody or anybody is unbiased about anything. But you try to be as unbiased as you can. But Rob Lanier's somebody I really like. And of all the coaches that I've covered, he would be in the top 5 of guys who, if any, if I have a kid who's good enough to play ball somewhere, I'd be comfortable with them taking care of my child for 4 years. He and Conzo Martin are right up there near or at the top of that list for me. Rick Barnes would be up there too. And oftentimes you get to know basketball and baseball coaches a little better because there's fewer walls built around them, at least in this part of the country. But that's why you can't get – I mean, there's people that you like and people you don't like. But, like, what much of a secret that Butch Jones and I were not fast friends. We are not people who liked each other, got along, had pleasant conversations ever. We didn't. But you still treat the guy fairly. You write, here's this what happened, this is what I think about it. And you try not to. I mean, there's times where he says some of the stuff he says, and you're like, dude, you're mad at me. You're the one who said this. I'm not the one out there saying that. I'm just saying what you said. If you're mad at me, you're mad at yourself. But I just like Rob Lanier, and it was good to see him, and I hope he does well at Rice. That's a good dude. And speaking of somebody else that I covered that I liked, we'll talk about Lane Kiffin before we get out of here. Lane sure still has a way of making things interesting when he's either leaving or going somewhere, right? Like, this dude has been fired on a tarmac. He's left with burning mattresses in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's his ability to make these things interesting. It's delicious. And right now, of course, his family's visiting Baton Rouge, and his family is visiting Gainesville, which, oh, by the way, Ole Miss, which, beat Florida last week, and which, oh, by the way, might be going to the college football playoff for the first time in its history. And he's sitting there tweeting because he's just Lane, and he's tweeting all these inspirational quotes and stuff about the team and all this. And it's like, behind the scenes, Ole Miss is like, dude, you're not coaching the Egg Bowl next week if you don't commit to staying here. Like that there are talks that they are potentially doing that. And I think it was Brett Murphy who had that first. Longtime friend. I think he had that first. He's with On 3 now. I think he had that first. I don't want to get that wrong, but I think he was the first one who had that out there. So, and it may have been Pete. I'm not sure. It was one of the two. I think so. We'll amend this later, hopefully, and it was one of them. And so that's going on, and that reminded me of the day that Lane Kiffin was leaving Tennessee. Because Lane, if you remember at the time, was not at USC. He was not at the top of USC's list, right? Like, he wasn't at the top of he was like in their second tier of guys. But they had a bunch of other guys who didn't really want to take the job, or it didn't work out. And then I started hearing from friends in the business like Feldman and other guys like that, by the way, SC might be hiring Lane. And I'm like, oh, like for real? And they're like, yes, for real. Like, they're talking. So, oh, okay. So it was on the radar for sure, but didn't think anything would happen imminently. And I needed tires. Was driving around there like on a F1, or NASCAR racing slicks, basically. It was like, dude, get some tires. So I was at the tire shop, and I get a text that's like, Lane, SC, about to be official. And I think I replied, ha, 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 stop it, idiot, to whoever it was. And they replied, dude, I'm serious. And I'm sitting there reading, I think it was a BlackBerry I had at the time. And I'm like, and then I look through the glass, and my car's up there getting tires put on it. And there's like somewhere less than 4 tires are currently on the vehicle. And I went to the counter and I was like, I need to leave. And they're like, your car's not ready yet. I was like, I need to leave. So is it faster for y'all to put these new tires on the car or put the old ones back on and I'll come back later? Which is faster? I need to be about 10 miles from here like 20 minutes ago.
Man,
like I need to be on campus. Like this
only
is
rideshare existed at the
like
time.
this is going
cabs existed, but it wasn't the same. You
yeah,
know
like
what I mean?
this is going down. I was like, by the way, guys, I covered Tennessee. I don't at the time like some people like fewer people knew who I was back then. It was a different time. Like we weren't out there quite as visible in the public as we are now all the time. And so I was like, by the way, Lane Kiffin's going to USC. That's about to be official. So there's some news for you that you can enjoy. Since I told you that, can you fix the car so I can go now? So then was getting there now. And then we saw it happen, the press conference. And I'm really glad that press conference, all the clips that you've seen of it, everybody's seen all these clips. Somewhere there is one of me maybe being a little bit salty with somebody. And it didn't air, and I'm glad it didn't. Because there's journalists here who won awards for like saying, hey, you want to do it, you got to come out and do it this way. Like you can't just give a statement, not for the cameras or yada yada. I was like, bro, we're on deadline. Like I'm all for you. I'll get here in this First Amendment fight with you. I'll get right in the trenches with you. But can you not be Walter bleeping Cronkite for the next 30 seconds? Because we got to get this. Like, and the cameras were running. So I'm sure like somewhere it exists with me saying that night, calling somebody who won an award for journalistic dignity that night, me sitting there calling him Walter bleeping Cronkite. So I was like, man, we need this. Like presses are running. Like they're offering us something. You can still say a statement on camera. Then you can have it later. Like we're all getting this at the same time. Like we just need this. And so that was going on. And while mattresses are burning outside and you know, so Lane has Lane has an effect on people when he's either going somewhere or leaving somewhere. And this whole thing is getting fascinating. It could have turned again in the hour that we've been on here. It could have turned again. Who knows? But the effect, the way that he can stir things up, the way that he can poke on social media, the way that he can say things that he knows what he's doing. I still communicate with Lane now and then. Like I know, like he'll do something and then send like a message that's like a smiley, like a grinning face, like a private one. He knows what he's doing. He's having fun with this. Now, not in this specific instance. I haven't communicated or heard anything from him about what's going on now. But yeah, I mean, it's we live in a world where there's a lot of robots. And I like it when people are not. And I usually give those people more grace than maybe others would because I'm like, what's the alternative, guys? If everybody's out here, no offense, Josh Heupel, good guy, has so much more personality than he shows when he's dealing things publicly. And what he does, it's responsible. It's a good way to handle your business. It's what I would advise somebody to do if I were their boss or I were their peer. I would say, hey, just don't get on any bulletin boards. You're good. You're fine. Just go do your job. Be professional. Be nice. Don't say anything about the other team. But if everybody did that, my life would be more boring. So, yeah, like, okay, somebody says some dumb stuff. I'm always like, can we not, like, go too overboard on this? Can we just not go nuts? Let's criticize it a little bit. Shouldn't have said that. No, slap him on the wrist. But if we hammer people for every little thing that they say or do that's not like stamped HR boss approved, we're all suffering for that. Like, you as a fan are not getting as much fun content. We as people covering it aren't having more fun stuff to do. And then we have to get something. So if you're telling us nothing, you know what we go do? We go find stuff. That's the other part about this that I don't think people understand, Tom. And we'll talk about this on another day, because I think this whole like never say anything, never show anything, never. You have to give some red meat to people who do what we do. Because at the end of the day, we got to give bosses something. And for me, as someone who opines, it's whatever, doesn't affect me too much. Like beat reporters, people like that. Hey, if you don't give them stuff that's interesting, interviews, access, they're going to start putting in freedom of information requests for what you pay for all the toilet seats in your building. Because they got to have something. So they're going to be they got to find something, and you're probably not going to like what they find. So it helps everybody to have a little personality. And it maybe isn't fun when you happen to be the victim of whatever's going on with Lane and the poking and prodding, but, you know, not everybody has to be dull. Everybody can have, we got to have some flavor in there, right?
Maybe just a little.
Like, what did people do, like eating food before pepper was invented? Or they found pepper? Like, people are just sitting there eating gruel. Like, there's no spice in their food. There's no interesting thing. It's just sustenance. Doesn't have any flavor, any pop. People before sugar, certain places in the world that didn't have it, are they being healthy? That sucks. I'm just saying. Let's have a little fun. It is Tennessee Florida week, so eventually we're going to get to more of that.
What's that? Gator Hater week.
It is, and there's people in the parking lot here who have their, who are not sports journalists. Clarify this. Everybody here is a professional.
It's fine. I don't know if we have a gator in the house these days.
But what I'm saying is, like, what I'm about to say will sound like we as a station are not professional in what we do. And I'm saying we are, because these people are not people who have sports jobs. They don't work with sports. But they have gators, like being, like in their car, like the whole like gator hanging from the thing.
Yeah.
They got them on the cars. I've been in the parking lot this week.
Yeah.
Which,
I think one year we actually did try to order gator from, I think our friends at the
gator
shrimp,
tail can be good. If it's
the
not
shrimp
too
dock.
tough,
I think they do that every year. Yeah.
It's good.
It is.
But that's how I'll wrap up today, is that the reason why I'm having fun and mentioning that stuff in the parking lot is because this morning, I told you back on Spotify, I get my day started with what's randomly playing for me. And today it was open up, get in the car, and it's Ain't Nobody by Shaka Khan. So I'm sitting there like, ain't nobody. Like when I'm driving in, and then I get to the parking lot, and the main parking lot here is full. So then I'm like, ain't no parking. Ain't no parking.
Go down to
I'm going to call these
lot.
people out for taking my parking. So that's what was going on today. That's why I mentioned the stuff with the Gators, because they love everybody here. But I had to park and walk farther today, and I didn't like it. But it's still a good day.
Wow, what a tough life we lead.
Yeah, right. I had to walk like 100 extra yards. You people.
It's a
making
beautiful
me walk
day.
100 extra
Why would
yards.
I be mad about that? Actually,
Yeah, it is, because it's warmer than 50 today, right? Because that's the point for me.
Yeah, today has been just gorgeous.
Anything higher, anything above 50, I can tolerate. Dips below 50, I get seasonal affective disorder, weather affective disorder. I hate. If it's cold outside and there's not snow on the ground, the only thing I like about winter is the smell. Really, like the air smells different.
Like the fires going, you can
fires
smell
going, and just
fire
like the
a ways
precipitation
away.
or whatever's in the air, it just smells a little different. I like that part of it, and I like when there's snow, but not just being cold for no reason. This is as far north as I ever care.
It ain't that bad here.
This is what I'm saying, is this is as far north as I care to live.
It does get cold sometimes. It does,
we get 4 seasons.
Frigid.
That's nice.
We get all 4 seasons.
It's
it
not,
does
it's
get
not
cold.
like Chicago in the winter where you just want to every coffee should be an Irish coffee. That part of the year.
Anything near those lakes, I've been to Toronto in the winter, and let me tell you, that's an experience.
Yes, and Alaska,
That wind,
there gets a little cold. Gets a little cold. We don't get that here necessarily, but we do get a lot of good stuff. But we have had fun today, even though we didn't check on whether Elijah's working. I'm gonna do that at some point. I'm gonna see.
You want to take a quick look, real quick?
Yeah, can we
just a real quick?
Yeah, can we get? Because I think I don't know if we can see into the sports office.
There we go. You can't see into the sports office, but
see, the sports office,
they're doing the show right now.
You see the TV in the back. You go left where our good friend Lindsay's back there walking.
Yeah.
Our sports producer does a great job. When you turn left, right there in that corner, that's the sports timeout corner, and we our own little room where they sequester us from the rest of civilization in there. And I need to be able to pan that to see.
Yeah, we would have to pan it. Unfortunately, that camera doesn't have a panning option.
I'm gonna take one of my security cameras from home, one of the mobile ones, set it up here, see if I can get the Wi-Fi connected, and be like, "What are you doing in there? What are you doing in there, Elijah? Are you really working? Are you really working?" We're gonna do that.
I'm sure he is.
Hey, if your name there's a Rushmore in here that I'm not going after, right?
What's that?
Becker, Robin, Todd.
Oh, okay.
John North.
Gotcha.
Those are old pros. I tip my cap. I'm not going after. That's the top of the food chain. You can't go after the top of the food chain. You got to show some respect. Anybody else in there, I'm messing with. If I see you on camera, like I'm gonna hit buttons and I'm gonna be like, "Yep, there you are."
Robin, off limits.
Yeah, that's the Rushmore. You don't. That's the show some respect to the people in the building, right?
Okay.
They're people. They're the front. They're frontward facing. They're the front window of the place. Let's show them respect. And then if we can eventually have fun with them, then we'll have fun with them. But anybody else, I'll poke at for sure. But John Becker and that magnificent jawline, I'm not going after that. You know what it's like to work with that jawline. You walk in every day, and you walk by that jawline, and you go, "Why am I here? What am I doing?" There's a reason why I put like this furry, spackle on my face. I ain't got that Becker jawline. I ain't never gonna have it. I'd have to have surgery to have that. I'm not doing that. Y'all, it's been a good day. We got another one tomorrow. We'll see if Elijah or Emily can join us tomorrow, or if they want to ditch us again. I thought it might take longer for them to be like, you just do it. And I'm not going in there. Elijah was like, "Oh, yeah, I can't today." Just kidding. Love all of them. Elijah, nicest guy in the world. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have a lot more to talk about. Maybe actually more Tennessee, Florida, because it's Tennessee, Florida week. Maybe other stuff will stop happening, and we'll be able to talk about that. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in about 23 hours.